welcome to EdTechX Stories. My name is Benjamin Vedrenne-Cloquet. I'm CEO and co-founder of EdTechX Holdings and partner at US Capital. EdTechX Stories is a short weekly interaction with CEOs, founders, investors, and innovators shaping and making the future of education and work. So welcome to EdTechX Stories, and I hope you enjoy our next session. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eilert Hanoa. I'm born in 1970 in Oslo, or Norway, currently living in Oslo, Norway. And I'm the CEO of Kahoot. And I'm here to talk about Kahoot's fantastic journey and mission to make learning more awesome for everyone.
Hi, Eilert. Hello. Welcome to EdTech Stories. I'm very pleased to have you here. You are the CEO of Kahoot, and it's one of the very few European EdTech company to be actually listed on the Oslo Stock Exchange. But before we talk about your company and about business, I have a personal question for you. How did you end up in that position? Is there a defining someone or an event in your life that led you to be leading an education technology company?
First of all, thank you very much for having us on this show. And secondly, I think there is a red line back to my earliest project, actually in the mid 80s, where I started out on developing a tool for making learning easier for those with learning disabilities. And of course, back then you had Apple II machines, computers that were very different from what we today experience as a cloud-based service. But the whole notion of using technology to make learning easier or better was actually something that started to really inspire me in this industry, even back then. And there is somehow a red line from that point and until today, I guess, on making learning awesome.
Very good. So, on this, making learning awesome, I think Kahoot mission statement is to unlock the deepest potential of every learner by making learning awesome and magical, right? Something like this. I've read this. I mean, how do you make digital learning better than the physical experience? Can you tell us how do you do this at Kahoot?
Yeah, so I don't think it's better than physical experience, but it's an add-on or a complementary tool to any setting where you have a presenter, that be a teacher in a classroom or presenter in a professional setting, and giving those presenters and teachers a better toolbox to make the session better, because it's all about making all the learners really getting engaged, to really pay attention, and of course consume the knowledge in a good way. And that is what Kahoot does, whether it's a classroom or a self-study or homework or in a Zoom call. You can make learning awesome with the digital tools that we provide, and in that way help both the teacher and the student to make that session better.
Mhm. And so since the beginning of the pandemic, and I should say thanks or because of the pandemic, I don't know whether I should say thanks or because everyone talks about online learning and edtech, and before it was not really on the map. So what do you think is what is the one thing about online learning that you wish was discussed more today? Is it about efficacy? Is it about gamification, artificial intelligence? What do you think is not talked enough about online education?
I think it's first of all, I think it has come higher on the agenda with the pandemic, from a more nice to have additional asset to being a must have tool for both schools or educational institutions in general, and for teachers, and for that matter, for students and parents as well. And I'm very glad for that, because digital learning and online learning is a great way, a great companion to extend the general learning. I mean, we as human beings, of course, prefer to be in a classroom with others, with peers, with a teacher, and feel the energy of the room when we are to be learning anything. And the same goes for the teacher, of course, to see the energy of the delegates or of the students when you are presenting out. But in the lack of that best alternative, online learning, whether it's because of distance or time zones or lockdowns or what have you, is a great companion, and it's a great alternative way to make learning awesome, and maybe in some cases actually more inclusive than limiting it to the physical audience only. So having online learning as a great extension of any learning setting, we believe is truly amazing. And that's also why we have been doubling down on investing in these learning tools. So whether you are a teacher in a classroom or during a lockdown, or for giving your students a great way to prep for the exam next week, we believe that Kahoot can provide that help to the teacher and to the students.
Thank you. And what are you the most excited about right now for Kahoot? I mean, you've recently made the acquisition of Clever. That gives you, I think, presence in 65% of the US schools. You've just hit 1 million subscribers, if I'm right. So what's next? What's exciting?
I think the most exciting now is to take what we have as a foundation or as a platform and continue to evolve that. Never, if you will, be satisfied with what we are currently providing, but being able to help both the 9 million teachers that are using Kahoot for free around the world, to help, again, hundreds of millions of student sessions to be better, to work with our partners to have better content on the platform, whether it's our newly launched section with Star Wars content for learning science, which is of course super cool for any age, and especially for those who are maybe tired of the textbooks, but kind of show some new ways of addressing old challenges in making learning awesome. But most importantly, of course, we are a software company, and investing in software solutions every day with hundreds of employees only working on creating better software solutions for all our audiences. And that's just really what makes it amazing for us to every morning see what we can improve and how we can help everyone making learning more interesting around the world.
And can you tell us a bit more about the acquisition you've just made and the rationale for it? Why US? Why this company?
Yeah, so Clever had their mission, which is to make this digital learning platform so teachers can easily use tools in the classroom, that students can easily log on, that it's very simple for a school owner to distribute learning tools, whether it's material or apps, to all the teachers in the district. That is something we find very interesting, and we've been luckily to follow Clever since they started back in 2012, and we met them the first time in 2013 on South by Southwest. So we have been able to track their great performance throughout these years, and we see that the combination of the Clever platform with the Kahoot apps and the Kahoot value proposition is a very strong value proposition, both in the K-12 US, where they have a great share, but also how we can package those two services together as we are approaching new markets with the best of Kahoot and the best of Clever. So Clever is both for us a way to continue to grow the Clever story in the US, but also to join Clever with a joint international story that we can build better together than what we could do separately.
Mhm. I mean, it's usually US tech companies buying European tech companies, right? Not the way around. And so, what do you think assets, European companies or Nordic companies have to succeed in edtech?
So I think, I mean, first of all, Kahoot's main market has been US since launch of 13. So to some extent, you could say that we are an international company that happens to be in Oslo, Norway. But I think that what it really boils down to is the ability that any product from any company, regardless where their origin is, to excite the users and really make a difference. And hopefully we'll be able to do that with Kahoot. And I also think that both the shareholders of Clever and the whole organization of Clever see that we can together build a much better value proposition than what we could do separately. And that has been the driving force for this opportunity to join our forces.
Yeah, and I always found that Scandinavian companies, because their home market is relatively small, relatively speaking, always thinking globally first. And there are many examples from Spotify, and you're obviously one of them. So congratulations on that. One question for you: Are you a lifelong learner?
Yes, I definitely believe every time that we do something, whether it's presenting out, building a new product, having interaction with customers, and everything we do at work, but also in the rest of life, you have to continuously learn. And the best way to learn is, of course, to never be satisfied with your level of knowledge, because it's not about being completing the course. It's about continuously see where can this bring me next, whether it's on a personal agenda or of course at work in a professional setting.
So, what are you currently learning right now? What have you been learning recently?
I must admit that my learning has been primarily focused on work related, especially the last 2 years, with extremely I would say changed in mindset around different agendas and ways to build an organization to deliver products and also engage and interact with customers. But on a personal side, I think that everything from politics to history to languages to society and kind of understanding all the different constant changes in ways we are both seeing facts, perception, and discussions is extremely interesting. And I think it comes back to making learning awesome. We all are exposed for less awesome ways of presenting facts or general knowledge, and that always triggers an interest to see how can we deliver a tool that makes this experience better. So it's coming back to being work related, actually, also on the private side.
Okay, very good. So let's get now to the rapid fire question section. Are you ready?
Yes.
I'll let you have a glass of water. So, state school or private school?
I think, yeah, the general is definitely state school, but I also see the need for some private initiatives to maybe fill some gaps or holes in the standard school offering that will be reaching the majority of the population in any country. So
Okay.
it's not an either or, but leading with state and following with private schools.
You're allowed to only one answer, A or B. Let's see. Learn or play?
Learn.
Profit or impact?
Impacts.
Learners or shareholders?
Learners that become shareholders.
Okay, yeah, true. Teacher or technology?
Technology as a tool for teachers.
Very good. Very diplomatic. Well, thank you. You know, we are reaching the end of this interview. But before we leave you, would you nominate one person who you think is changing education or work for the best, and that you would like to be nominated for the next EdTechX story?
Yeah, I mean, I must say, almost of course, I would like to nominate Tyler in Clever as the CEO there, and the fantastic job they've done. And I think he would be a very good candidate for an interview with you, and also hopefully very interesting for the audience as well, with the job and the journey that the Clever team has done.
Great, done deal. Is next on the list then.
Perfect.
Well, thank you very much. That was Eilert Hanoa, CEO of Kahoot for EdTechX Stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.